I trusted people that ended up getting charged with a felony. If somebody steals one of those from you with their low vibrations, don't let them steal anymore. Speak up. If you feel like something's wrong or you feel like something's not clear, definitely you got to open your mouth because chances are something might be off. For example, finding single mothers in Africa, sometimes you can't trust everybody with their visitors. Even if I can do it, it doesn't mean I should do it.
So they
So
have that small business mentality where I need to do everything.
my name is Jason McNamara. And I was originally born in the Caribbean, and I grew up in South Florida. Being ex-military, I did a lot of traveling. I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Grew up in a lower income neighborhood, kind of learning about the life that I didn't want to live when I was growing up. So I had a lot of good influences and bad influences, and I decided to make a change. I decided to serve the country. I remember trying to join the Navy. I had to wait for over a year. It was the time when a lot of people were joining and they weren't hiring, so I was in the delayed entry program. And I don't know if you want me to go into the rest of the story from here, but that's a quick version.
Yeah, no, we have plenty of time. So where in the Caribbean are you from?
Virgin Islands. Yeah, St. Thomas.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay, nice. All right. I go there once a year for work, not unfortunately, which I guess is kind of also a vacation. So what brought your family from the Virgin Islands to Florida?
So it's weird because my family wasn't originally from there. My mom was from Long Island, New York, and my dad was from Massachusetts, and they didn't know each other. They both had this
Oh,
inkling to get out of there and move to the Caribbean on their own, just to live in paradise where they were working. My mom was a nurse, my dad was a chef, and they met and made me. Somewhere around I guess, the first year, 'cause I was a baby when we moved back to Florida, they decided that for my benefit, they would move back to Florida because of the education system and a few other perks of being in the States growing up. So that was the big reason for the move. Unfortunately, they didn't stay married. They separated and divorced a few years later. So I grew up with a single mom. She worked really hard. She worked overnight shifts at the hospital, trying to support me as an only child. And once I hit maybe around 11 years old, I got bored. I got tired of staying inside and playing games and reading books. And I started going outside with the kids in the neighborhood and learned how to play basketball and football. And I started learning how to box, not always by choice, but nonetheless, it was an important part of my journey in growing up with that environment and going out there and being like a young kid, just bored, a little lost, a little lonely, trying to find his way. And of course, that's kind of where I started noticing, like, saw people slumped over on drugs, people going to jail, people dying, a lot of bad things happening in that environment. And I realized that that is not the future that I had in plan for me. So I joined the military. I signed up. I wanted to be a nuke. I thought it would be cool. Yeah, I love math, but the Navy had different plans. They told me I was going to be an aviation technician, which I obliged. I was like, cool, I'll work on airplanes. And while they were training me to work on airplanes, they came into my class and they said, hey, we kind of have a shortage of prison guards. We need detainee operators in Guantanamo Bay. So they asked for volunteers. You know, they upsold it pretty hard. You get extra pay, you get free Space A flights to Puerto Rico. I was like, back to the Caribbean I go. Let's go Cuba. So I took that job, went down there, started off regular detainee ops, and I moved from camp to camp to camp, behavioral health unit, the detainee hospital, and somewhere along the line they switched me over to escorts and gold escorts, which was where we did the transportation for the CIA interrogation. So I ended up leaving Guantanamo Bay with two Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medals. One of them for showing up every single day during Ramadan, no days off, just doing whatever needed to be done in a kind of volatile environment. And then the other one for assisting with the interrogations flawlessly. And I got out, I got back to the fleet. I was going to go back to school to actually learn how to work on airplanes. And I was going to be land based. I was probably going to end up in Hawaii, which would have been sweet on the P3 Orions, which never lands on a ship. So I'm one of those weird sailors that only went on a boat once as a tourist, right? Taking the tour. Um, so back when I was at the fleet after sea school, I went to my squadron and the master chief had a conversation with me. He said, you want to do 20 years? You've already got more medals than your instructor. You can have a really nice career here. I said, Master Chief, all due respect, I've I've served. I'm ready to go home. I want to go fishing. I love in Guantanamo all the fishing we had. I'm from Florida. I want to go home and go fishing and make babies. And he said, well, I don't see any reason why we can't give you an honorable discharge. You've got gee dunk duty until it's time to get out.
That's pretty awesome. That's a really awesome commander because I I remember wanting having a conversation with my leadership and they're like, why are you gonna get out? Like what are you gonna like are you gonna re-enlist? And they were like, nope, you're taking the test. If you make chief, I promise you'll want to stay in. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm definitely getting out. Okay, so what part of Florida are you from?
So South Florida, Martin County, St. Lucie County. That's where I grew up. Um,
Okay. Okay.
cur-
Yeah.
Currently, I think I'm in Indian River County. I'm up in or maybe even the next one up. But I travel. Part of my retirement plan, and we skipped a journey of my resume there, was to invest
Hmm.
in multiple properties to have multiple income streams. And I like to travel, so I figured, hey, if I'm going to get properties, let me get them a few hours away from me. Is that we used to take like weekend warrior trips all the time. Let's go here and rent the cabin.
Sure.
Let's go to Tampa and go fishing. And,
Yeah.
3 hour drive across the state, you rent an Airbnb and then you go home after the weekend's done. And I figured, why not just buy the houses? I could literally use it as a write off when I'm checking up on my own properties and I can stay on vacation. So I'm a little bit mobile, but typically from South Florida. Lately, I've been spending a lot more time in North Florida too. I
Hmm.
enjoy the freedom and the lack of crowds and the quiet and peace.
Yeah. Yeah. I've obviously I'm from New York. I actually went to college on Long Island, so I'm not sure where your mom's from, but yeah,
West Islip.
I oh West Islip. That's funny. I'm very familiar. I went to Farmingdale. I went to a SUNY school, so SUNY Farmingdale. But I finished high school at Connecticut in Suffolk County. So anyway, but yeah, I've been to Florida a few times. I actually just recently got into fishing, so I'm really curious. What kind of fishing are you doing?
All right, let me see if I can turn this thing around just for a second, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, where's the button for this?
Oh yeah. There's no. Oh, is there? I don't know if there's a
Here,
flip.
physically turning it around. Fishing is fundamental, all right? So
No.
I love snook fishing. I love crabbing. I love catching all types of snappers. I also love free
Nice.
diving, bringing up little lobsters and conch and whatever I can get my hands on. So anything that has to do with the water, like put me in it. I've been
Yeah.
spearfishing, all types of fishing.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah, I recently got into fishing because I like to backpack, and recently some of my backpacking trips have taken me to areas that have really remote water streams. And but I've been going tenkara fishing, which is essentially like a Japanese form of fly fishing. The rods are collapsible, and I mean the rods are like less than a pound sometimes. It's very you cook whatever you catch, depending on where you're at. Some of these remote areas are just catch and release only. But I just recently got into it, and it's a ton of fun. I kind of understand why, folks. It's very tranquil. Like it's just you, the water, and you're very focused on every little thing, the wind direction, how your line's sitting in the water. I think it's a really great sport. I'd hate to divulge that. I want less people on the water, but at the same time, I'm like, you guys should try it.
Let's talk about that peace because that's a huge one. That tranquility, like you're
Yeah.
out there, you're in your own mind, enjoying it, and then you don't mind getting disturbed because all of a sudden the line jumps. You're like, oh, now you're excited. Okay, my beautiful free flowing piece is disturbed because I haven't fished. I'm still happy.
Yeah, it's kind of this like built-in mindfulness because a lot of mindfulness practices have you try to only focus on what you're sensing, right? What are you seeing? How are you feeling? How is your body interacting with the environment? And fishing kind of almost forces you to do that. You're not thinking so much about what's going on in your life. You're more so focusing on trying to catch a fish. And I think that it's a great form of like your own therapy. But yeah, so okay, so sorry before I get off track because I could talk about fishing for a while because there's so much I'd love to learn. So after so you got out of the military, you went back to Florida. So what did your transition look like?
Sure. Transition. So One of the reasons that I was able to get out early, honorably, was because I was in that weird transition from Bush to Obama when they were trying to literally downsize the military. So I remember people in my command were getting kicked out for various reasons, like you're out of shape, you haven't passed two PT tests. I was luckily in shape and I passed my PT test, but long story short, they were trying to downsize. So this is 2010 when I got out, so a little bit after the recession hit. So there was a lot of unemployment. And it's ironic because I ended up working for the unemployment office. A disabled veteran outreach program specialist hit me up and was like, hey, my position, I'm here to help you overcome your barriers to employment and find meaningful employment. And then we started talking, and he was like, well, you can actually come in as an intern, as a work study under your GI Bill, because I was going to school full time. And it ended up being a win-win. I ended up working and then getting offered a full-time position with the state of Florida's Department of Economic Opportunity to do exactly that job, to help disabled veterans overcome barriers to employment. So I kind of got lucky, first person reaching out to me, trying to help me find a job, hired me, and I realized I had some pretty good transferable skills. And that's actually where I like to pretend I started learning about marketing. I started selling things way before then trading, but in that position particularly, my job was to find a veteran and discover their value, right? Discover those transferable skills that they had not yet identified, and then find an employer or a job, a position that actually would make them happy, that would satisfy them, not just get them to go apply everywhere. But then when you have those two things lined up, you need to create a targeted resume. We don't want to find the guy's dream job and just say, all right, we made some generic resume, let's shoot it off and hope for the best. You look at the job details. You make sure that you're understanding what they're actually asking for. And you make sure that it's reflected in the resume so your person is going to get a call back. So we did that for a few years. It was hugely intrinsically rewarding. We set out a campaign to get 100 vets hired within 100 days, and we did 435. We broke records. We made the newspapers. The state of Florida took notice, and they said, what did y'all do? Because we want to implement it in all the other offices. And I loved it. What I didn't love, though, was where I was at financially. I had bought my first house. It's a little tiny duplex in an HOA, and I wanted to plant an orange tree. I had my first son. My second son was on the way. And my HOA told me, no, you don't have the power or authority in your life to put anything in that yard. And I was like, wait a minute, I pay y'all how much money a month to mow it, and I can't plant an orange tree? So I knew I needed to make more money. That salaried job was not going to cut it. So the next step in my journey comes. I don't know, that's sales. I started going door to door because I wanted to make more money, and I realized I could do it. So within 2 weeks of doing that, they promoted me to supervisor because I started crushing the numbers. I was just showing up, talking to people, breaking records there as well. And I started training other people how to do that. After a few months, I actually transitioned companies. I went into a different company where I didn't have to do door to door anymore because I was getting back in shape. I was making money, but I also enjoyed my free time. So I took a position that offered a company vehicle, and it was 10 blocks away from my house, and they actually gave me leads. So they would sit there and say, you need to go drive to this person's house, then to this person's house, then to this person's house. So I didn't have to knock on doors anymore. I did really good in that position as well. After 7 years, I retired as the number one residential sales guy in the nation's largest family-owned pest control company. I didn't start off as number one. It took 7 years. I think year 5, I was number 3. Year 6, I was number 2. And year 7, I finally was number 1. There was nowhere left to go. And I remember going up on stage to get my number 1 award, my bonus check, my name, all the bells and whistles. And they put the picture of how much money I made the company just that year. And then I remembered how much I actually got paid on my tax returns. And I realized that my worth wasn't being directly correlated into my bank account. I was only getting a percentage, and I wanted a higher percentage of that. So I talked to them. I gave them an opportunity. I said, listen, I would like to train other people how to duplicate the results I got. I know you guys want me to be out there and keep working and being number 1, but if I can get 100, 200, 300 more people to just move the needle a little bit more like I did, I think it'll impact the company as a whole. They love that idea, but they have a policy in the company, which I respect. I totally get it. Even the CEO's son had to do this, where you have to go through all the other management stages to get to that corporate level. And unfortunately, going into the service manager or the general manager position was going to be a huge pay cut and a huge increase in workload. So luckily, I had been saving, earning, and investing my money with all those bonus checks along the years, and I bought all these different houses. So I made that transition about 6 months after COVID hit to retire, to leave the no more, to leave the 9 to 5.
Mm,
I can keep going, but
nice.
what do you think?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's it's interesting because you're not the first person to tell me that. I've interviewed other folks, and just through the course of just talking to other people, I hear a lot of times that there are these corporations, these big corporate businesses that really appreciate what you do when it comes to sales, but you're getting like 0.5% of what they're actually making. And it's like, I'm generating millions of dollars for your company, and you're giving me 0.05 of that, which is, your corporate model. You have to make money, but it really puts into perspective kind of what you're actually capable of. And I love that you were in sales. I always tell folks that if at any point in your life you've thought about opening your own business, that sales experience is so detrimental because that's a lot of what entrepreneurship is. But yeah, what happened after that? So after you realized that you're really good at what you're doing and you decided to leave that company, what was the next step?
So the next step was to sit back and relax. I now had two 5 acre lots next to each other in South Florida with every single fruit tree I could possibly grow and a pond stocked with fish, so I could grow my own food finally. Nobody can tell me otherwise. I had
Yeah.
solar panels on my house, four-wheeler trails, and a shooting berm too. So I really built a life that I didn't need a vacation from, right? Um,
Mhm.
so the next step was to continue to pay it forward. We were able to homeschool the kids, able to keep focusing on our hobbies and passions and self-betterment. But we started multiple nonprofits. Along the way, when I was working at the state, we had one of my mentors, Senior Chief Ron Zimmerman, taught us about the value of being a servant leader, right? So that's why we were helping so many people, just putting the mission over any commissions, because we weren't making any commissions anyway. So we started multiple nonprofits. We started the TC Sandlot Crew, which is a nonprofit meant to teach kids the character and camaraderie behind baseball. So we use the sport as a game, as a tool to teach them how to improve themselves. Another one was the where we took the National Medal of Honor Association's character development training program. We taught that out to the youth and adults sometimes. So that was always fun talking about honor and character and commitment and all that good stuff. Um, Another one was Revitalize, Stabilize Fort Pierce that we helped launch, and that was about giving back to the lower income communities where I grew up. Um, and then uh, we ended up evolving um, into the No More 9 to 5 Foundation, and basically my life's work, which is finding people and powering them up, closing their gaps to excellence, motivating and inspiring them to use their own brains and have that confidence in their self-worth and clarity on their goals so they can actually get up every day and achieve. Because that's how I got all of this. I believed I could buy my first house. And then when I bought my second, third, and fourth, it was a lot easier. A lot of people, they hold themselves back because they think it's difficult. So my goal with all of these nonprofits was to give back to certain areas that meant a lot to me. 'Cause I wouldn't be where I am today if people didn't look at me and pour into me when I was younger. I could have easily went left. I could have been dead. I could have been in jail. I could have been a drug addict. I could have been a lot of other things than I am today if people didn't look at me and give me their best advice without charging me for it. So I wanted to make a community of that. Um, so we built the No More 9 to 5 Club, the No More 9 to 5 Foundation, and Mind Trainer Pro. Now, there's actually some gaps in that story. I don't know if you want to get into it's probably going to make for a better podcast, the missteps that I took along the way to get there. I invested in multiple companies before we built the No More 9 to 5 Club. I trusted people that ended up getting charged with a felony because we actually started a real C corporation and they treated it like it was just a JV partnership and stole over 6 figures. Well, you know, you live and you learn that sometimes you can't trust everybody with your business, even if you have a legitimate paperwork and they can get in serious trouble. they're still willing to take that risk. So I learned those lessons the hard way. Um, so along the journey, there's that train.
That's awesome. I When I lived in New York, I lived like my bedroom window was like eye line with the train, and I guess to this day I didn't even realize a train was going by. I tuned it out immediately.
Yeah, I grew up with train tracks where I was living in Fort Pierce. And so it's one of those things that I can sleep through. And I remember being in, I think it
Yeah,
was, I was stationed in Pensacola and I was on a night shift. And so I was
yeah.
learning how to sleep in the day. So trains don't bother me. If you've never had blue angels flying over your barracks multiple times a day while you're trying to sleep,
Yeah. If things aren't breaking the sound barrier, then you don't know.
they were
But I'm
definitely
sorry.
doing
So
that.
so you were talking about kind of some of the mistakes and trials and tribulations you had gone through in your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, I found a lot of good people, but I realized from a sales perspective, from a digital marketing perspective, that I did not have the skills yet or the understanding to make the best choices for myself. So I ended up trusting other people that hindsight 2020, maybe I shouldn't have put that much trust in. So I've learned a lot, but what I've really, really learned from those experiences is to speak up louder and faster when I feel like I'm not clear, I'm not understanding, or my intuition is telling me something's wrong. To trust my gut and not shut up. Like everybody that depends on me, my kids, my family, my clients, the people the nonprofit serves, they're depending on me to check other people that are going to throw off our mission. So if I'm not willing to check those people fast, then I'm failing them. So that's my biggest takeaway. You know, speak up. If you feel like something's wrong or you feel like something's not clear, definitely you got to open your mouth because chances are something might be off.
Yeah, especially when it's your business. I think I became a venture capitalist about 4 years ago now, probably a little longer than that. I'd started investing in businesses, and at first I would come in as a full blown partner, and I there were a lot of times where that advice would have been great, where I didn't say anything, and then we see a dip in revenue, and it's like I should have said something. And that's, the lesson learned is the lesson is it's your pocket, right? It's what's going to affect the bottom line. Now I'm more so like a silent investor. But, you know, I still ask a ton of questions. If things come up, I say something because it's my almost like my fiduciary responsibility to myself and, like you're saying, your family, to make sure that you're on top of things and you're vocal about, where the business is going. So, is the No More 9 to 5 Foundation a nonprofit?
Yes, we are a 501c3, such a 501c3 that we were incorporated for over a year before I had to file for a bank account. Everything was self-funded from me and the club. And I realized I needed a bank account for multiple reasons, like the Google Ad Spend grant. But essentially, the No More 9 to 5 Foundation serves multiple missions. It's not just a simple nonprofit. I use it to give all veterans free upgraded membership inside of the club. The original version of the club, everything was free anyways. It should have been a nonprofit. I had no paid programs. I was leveraging affiliates and tools and partners that help people lower their bills and save, earn, and invest money. So we wanted to give back to veterans, but not just veterans, also aspiring entrepreneurs. We have a paid internship program as well that we leverage to find talent to help out the actual No More 9 to 5 Club with virtual assistants. We've done a really good job of, for example, finding single mothers in Africa who have some kind of virtual assistant or entrepreneurial bone in them, but they need training. They need to level up their skills. So we take them into our team and we start leveling up their skills. And even people here in the States, if somebody has an amazing story, an amazing passion, but they don't have the funds to launch a business, to get counseling, to build a website, we can take that and we can do it for them out of the goodness of our heart because we believe they're going to add value to the world. Another part of the No More 9 to 5 Club ecosystem is another business called Mind Trainer Pro. I partnered with Maury Zelkovich on this one. He's the world's first and only brain entrainment engineer. And one of the first systems that we developed, and he's been doing this for decades, thousands of testimonials. But one of the first systems that we co-developed was the PTSD version of Mind Trainer Pro. And specifically, it was important for us to develop this because as I was giving out free membership to veterans and free counseling to veterans. People were referring me to veterans that had PTSD. And while I could talk to people like, we've got some amazing testimonials, some amazing stories. I can think of times where a wife of 100% DV would call me and say that she's struggling. Her husband can't even clean himself. She's having to take care of the kids, the bills, him. And now he's like volunteering as the kid's football coach, and he's back to work and he's paying the bills, and like think the whole house is getting fixed up because he found his joy and motivation. So the PTSD Mind Trainer Pro is another gift that we give to any veteran that needs it, even if you're not adamantly thinking, yeah, I need that, I'm struggling with PTSD. To have that peace of mind where you're going on a guided meditation to do the shadow work to improve your own brain, it can be a huge benefit to any veteran who wants access. You don't have to say, I have PTSD to get access. We'll give you lifetime access completely for free. So those are some of the things that the nonprofit aims to do. PTSD assistance to veterans, entrepreneurial assistance to veterans and civilians, but obviously veterans are going to get what I like to call priority of service.
What is Mind Trainer Pro? Because
Mind
obviously none of you guys are doctors, so I'm curious as to the model.
So mindtrainer-pro.com is a website where we have actually lowered the price of the system. So Maury Zelkovich is a brain entrainment engineer. He spent his first 40 years of his life wanting to be dead, hurting himself, doing drugs, drinking a lot, things a lot of people do when they're struggling with their own selves. And he decided to develop the system and start studying the brain to save himself first and foremost. And this is decades ago. Since then, like the Brazilian military police has been using Mind, or I shouldn't say Mind Trainer Pro, they've been using Maury's work for over 20 years to decrease the aggressiveness in their military police. A lot of NGOs have used this. It's been peer reviewed by other scientists. And the Maury method, anybody can Google this to find out who Maury is. He's been around for a while, and there are thousands of testimonials. So what this system does, it's very unique and signature. It's and I can't say it as well as Maury, so I'm going to use my non-scientific terms, and y'all can go do your own research because I'm not the brain scientist. But what it does is it puts out, you put on a pair of headphones just like this, and it's going to speak to you. You're going to hear positive affirmations in your right brain, in your left brain, and your center brain. It's going to feel like you have three speakers in your mind paired with all the different tones, thousands of different tones and beats, and it sounds like you're in an MRI, bum, 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 bum. But what it does is it digs deeper neural trenches and pathways to positively affect mood and behavior. We not only have systems for PTSD, we have systems for business and sales. We have a digital coffee version. So if you're ever feeling down and you don't want to drink a cup of coffee, you can literally put on a pair of headphones for 10 minutes and you can be amped up because the brain is the captain of the rest of your body, right? This is just a meat suit. And the brain is the processing unit that feels pain. That's right. Your body doesn't feel pain. It tells your brain you're feeling pain. It is the processing unit that tells you whether or not you can smile. It is the processing unit that tells you if you need to go in a corner and ball up and cry. So by learning how to manage this processing unit and control your feelings and your thoughts, it can directly impact the rest of your life in so many ways.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know that you and I talked about this during one of our first conversations, but so I went to school as a cognitive behavioral neuroscientist, and I specialized in traumatic brain injuries, everything from you know, physical brain lesions to, the impacts of stroke to the impacts of PTSD. But I worked in the TBI clinic at the VA, and I did quality of life assessments for veterans that were either returning from overseas or who had been, dealing with severe PTSD, but not just mental health issues, also having gone through these traumatic events overseas that caused physical injury to their brain. And there have been a lot of there's been a lot of breakthroughs in science right now, especially with, and I'm still kind of on the border of whether I truly believe in the science, but that's because I'm an old school scientist. It sometimes takes us some time to change our mind, but you're not the first person I've had this conversation with about these developing new neural pathways through non-traditional medicine. And the research is slowly starting to emerge, starting to show that there are other positive forms of treatment that can complement therapy, like And I don't know much about Mind Trainer Pro or your friend, but it sounds like he's an engineer of some sort. But there have been a lot of things that have come out, especially with the positive affirmations, the mindfulness, these non-traditional forms of medicine that isn't just here's a pill, hopefully it makes you feel better. And I truly appreciate that kind of research because even though I don't know a ton about it, if there are people that are benefiting from it in some way, I think that is, if it can help one person, it's worth it. So that's phenomenal. But I kind of want to get into no more 9 to 5 because, so I'll just tell the funny story here. So you and I had set up, so for the listeners, Jason and I had set up a meeting. Jason sent out a link. I log on to the meeting. It was meant to be a quick call. Jason was like, all right, I have to hop onto my next meeting. But then people started to log in. So there was other guests on the call or other people on the call. And I just hung around because I was like, I don't know what's going on. But no, whatever. Like, I'll talk to anybody, people person. It turns out Jason's next meeting had started. And I just stuck around. But what came out of that was that I got to meet two really cool people that were, I think one was already a part of the No More 9 to 5, and he had along with him a newer member. And just the quality of that, I don't want to say the quality of the person, but essentially what I'm trying to say, there were two veterans who were just really awesome people. So I want to talk a little bit more about not the No More 9 to 5 Foundation, but the actual No More 9 to 5. So can you talk a little bit about that, the services that are offered? Because there were a lot of things on your website that I thought were pretty cool.
Let's go over it. Sure. And by the way, Thomas Long, shout out to you, brother. He has used the Mind Trainer Pro PTSD and passed it out to other veterans in need. He's all about service, right?
Yeah,
And
awesome.
yeah, the quality of the people that you attract and hold in your life really matter. Your circle matters. So I'm super happy that you decided to stay for that next meeting and meet them. We were all laughing about it at the end. We were like, all right, we're gonna have to do a do-over, which we did without
Yeah,
you, but they were happy that you did stay. It was a great
because it was like an
meeting.
intro call for him. It
Yeah,
was
he
I
was
was
like,
not
you need to
supposed
meet
to
my
be
buddy.
there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like, well, you're
yeah,
getting a twofer. You're getting Jason and Jesse.
yeah.
So um, so the No More 9 to 5 Club, like I said, originally I started it by trying to teach people about controlling the quality of their life through controlling the quality of their thoughts by disciplined actions. My mother taught me financial literacy, so the first version of the No More 9 to 5 Club simply taught people to save, earn, and invest their way to financial freedom. Make a goal, make a plan, and have some discipline to get it done, right? And that's what I was going to help them with. Y'all need help? I'll help you. But the best path to financial freedom is when you have enough money making money for you while you sleep, so you can do what you want in the daytime. Be at places like this with the boats and the kayaks walking by. So um, really, really important to make sure that people understand how to think first and foremost before going on any entrepreneurial journey. I love how you said anybody that wants to start a business should know sales, right? Because how can you do a business without communicating the value to your customers? If you don't know how to get customers in the door to serve, chances of your business failing go way up. So I realized that I have very unique sets of skills when it comes to communicating. I'm really good at listening. I'm also really good at understanding and summarizing. I'm good at offer development. I'm good at also making that plan and delegating it. So as I started learning how to build the No More 9 to 5 Club and I myself got better at digital marketing, I started doing my own market research, seeing what the people in my ecosystem needed. So we transitioned from just save, earn, and invest to a whole lot more. So we have a three pillars in the club in the basic membership that all veterans get for free. It's wealth, well-being, and wisdom. Three W's for the win. In those pillars, we actually have courses and tools and trainings that help people save, earn, and invest money, help people become healthier and invest in their healthy future, help people learn to learn more with tools like Mind Trainer Pro and other tools that increase their cognitive processing abilities. And the goal is to have that foundation. Like we have a completely free and complimentary membership for everybody. And then the basic is only 28 bucks a month. Wanted to keep it super affordable. Like we just lowered the cost of Mind Trainer Pro from 97 to 47 to $14.97 because we don't want this to be a business that only serves 100 or 1,000 people. We want to touch the globe, right? We believe everybody should be able to access this regardless of economic situations. Um, so the club evolves past the basic membership to the professional membership. And those are for people that have a little bit more stability and they're convinced that entrepreneurship is the way. So they can either have their own business or not have their own business because the club can actually act as a business in a box. I'm hearing another train coming. You let me know if I need to hit mute, okay? Um,
Okay.
so the professional membership is that business in a box that really
Okay. Yeah. It's super loud. I didn't want it to cut you off.
only a few more seconds. All right. It's
And
just a
I'll cut
quick
out all the train parts.
little snippet over the water right there. All right. So the professional membership is a business in a box where somebody can come in with an existing business and learn how to make it better, or they can come in with no business and literally just share the No More 9 to 5 Club. I realize most people have no marketing skills, they have no sales skills. There's tons of people working a 9 to 5 that try to do things like affiliate marketing, drop shipping, and they spend thousands on courses and don't figure it out and get zero results. So I didn't want that to be this club. So for $97 a month, they get a full business launch pad, which is a go high level white label, and they can have a snapshot of the entire No More 9 to 5 Club. And I like to joke that the club is one giant lead magnet because we do over 24 hours of live virtual masterminds every single month. We have multiple free courses. So you don't have to sell the No More 9 to 5 Club to people. You can literally give it away for free and let them decide if they want to invest their time. I had a saying in sales that worked out pretty well. I was a trusted advisor and I leveraged my network with integrity. So I would tell my customers, I only need 1% of your trust. We'll earn the other 99%. I would give them my cell phone number, and the chances of things going wrong went way, way down. And if there was a problem, they could call me. And I would tell them politely, hey, call the office, give them first dibs at making it right. If they don't, I got a size 11 boot and it works for you. So generally, most of our customers remain pretty happy. So we took that same mindset into the No More 9 to 5 Club and we paired it with this business in a box with artificial intelligence, LinkedIn lead generation, and other tools, including the use of my own virtual assistant team. So somebody can use the team that I have in place of me because my time's not scalable to keep track of their goals, to close their technological gaps to excellence, to help introduce them to people and figure things out if they needed that clarity to get to the next level. So I've been training my team on how to not only assist the club members, but how to leverage artificial intelligence for themselves and how to put on a pair of headphones and leverage MindTrigger Pro so they can increase the quality of their own thoughts. So the professional membership is a great place for any business owner to come. We can also rebuild websites on this business launchpad. Let me get a little bit more into that. And I know you probably know exactly what Go High Level is. But for the people that don't know, our rebranded business launchpad includes not only an area where you can have a website, you can have courses. We have an amazing and robust CRM where you can have artificial intelligence helping you with email and text marketing, affiliate structures, a calendar system, reputation management, and a whole lot more. So it's basically a business in a box. Above and beyond that, we leverage our team of virtual assistants to basically do marketing and tech implementation. So we have scaling and delegation programs. So if somebody wants a one-time thing, like, hey, just kind of build this one thing for me, or I don't want to wear all the hats in my business. I need my social media managed. I need my videos edited. I need this, that, and the other. They can leverage our team that the rest of the club uses to actually stop wearing all the hats and start getting things done. Too many times people try to do everything by themselves. You may be an expert in one area, but if you're really good at this and this is a $200 an hour trade, you should not be doing something that you can leverage somebody else that's better at it for $10 an hour. And that's the whole thing. Like when I was in property management, going into it, a lot of us, when we don't have abundance, we don't have money flowing, we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. I was like that. I got good at a lot of different things. But what I realized is even if I can do it, it doesn't mean I should do it. So a quick story. I was changing out a leaky shower cartridge. Drip, drip, drip. Went to the store, Home Depot, 20 minutes away, got the pieces, came back, started fixing it, busted my knuckles, saw my blood, let out a few low vibrational words, and had to go back to the store because I got the wrong parts. Finally got the right parts on the second trip, came home, fixed the shower cartridge. It's no longer leaking. Huge win. Cost me about $40, some hurt feelings, and about an hour and a half, 2 hours of my time. 2 weeks later, it started dripping again. This time, I got a little bit smarter. I called a plumber. It cost $90. It took him a half hour. In that half hour, I went and sat by my pool and I pulled out my sales binder. I made a few phone calls and I made about $500. Learn to stay focused in your lane of expertise. That's the moral of that story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a business coach, so I own obviously several businesses, but one of my businesses, I'm a business coach for C-suite executives, and I'm not cheap, and I don't help any business. The prerequisites are that you have to be a seven-figure business already bringing in seven-figure revenue, and sometimes I'll talk to these CEOs, and it's they're texting me at midnight because they're finally getting to their email to be able to answer to answer Q&As and things that are coming in. And I'm like, you need to hire somebody else. You have an assistant, hire another one. Because mind you, a lot of the businesses that I help and that I come in to consult for, they started off as small businesses, so they have that small business mentality where I need to do everything. And it's like you started a business to be your own boss, but most importantly is to gain back that freedom. And if you don't delegate, if you don't give these tasks, exactly like you're saying, somebody out there who's better at it than you are. So I think that's pretty cool that No More 9 to 5 has kind of like all of those things that folks can go to. So if folks wanted to, check out No More 9 to 5, the foundation, how would they go about getting a hold of you guys?
Uh, Lots of ways. The No More 9 to 5 Club.org, the No More 9 to 5 Foundation.org. They can Google the No More 9 to 5 Club. We're SEO'd pretty well. They'll see YouTube and Facebook, and we have a little WhatsApp community that you can't get to through Google. So book a call on our calendar and join the club. We have over 24 hours of live virtual meetings every single month. So the goal is to have something in here for everybody, from lifestyle medicine, right? Because what's the point of having a bunch of money to sit in a hospital bed and be sick, to networking, to wealth creation, marketing, you name it, and we have meetings for it. Like tonight, we have an Escape the Rat Race mastermind at 9 p.m. EST. So we have meetings sometimes in the day, in the morning, sometimes in the evening. So people are working a 9 to 5 sometimes. Sometimes even if you're a boss, you're a CEO, you can't show up randomly on a Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon. So it's important in balance to show up. But basically, they can Google us. They can show up. Maybe they can DM you. I don't know if you're going to put any of these links on the podcast.
I
Um,
will, yeah.
Perfect. So find the No More 9 to 5 Club. Click the link below. I'll see you guys on the inside.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty dope. I really hope that folks really start to utilize a lot of the resources that are out there. And I love to promote veteran-owned businesses because I think that our community is doing a lot of great things, not just for each other, but for just the being contributing members of society. So helping each other out, but also helping civilians as well. Because I think there's a lot that can be learned from the experiences of a lot of veterans. So yeah, I appreciate you. Is there anything else that you would want to tell the listeners before we wrap up?
See, remember the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. Go check on your battle buddies, but don't allow your brain to keep you in a funk. I think it's 1440 seconds that we have in a day, something like that, 1,440 minutes. If somebody steals one of those from you with their low vibrations, if they cut you off in traffic, don't let them steal any more. All right.